What if everything you thought you knew about the origins of human civilization, about the very spark of consciousness that defines us, was, in fact, a meticulously crafted illusion? What if the gods revered by ancient cultures weren't abstract deities or poetic metaphors, but tangible, physical beings whose influence reshaped our world and our very DNA? This isn't a flight of fancy, nor is it a fringe theory whispered in hushed tones. It is a profound question that sits at the very heart of the Anunnaki debate, a sprawling narrative that challenges the bedrock of conventional history. For millennia, the stories inscribed on clay tablets by the Sumerians, a civilization so advanced it seemed to spring fully formed from the desert sands of Mesopotamia, have been dismissed as mere mythology. Yet within these ancient texts, a consistent and startling account emerges, that of the Anunnaki, a race of powerful beings who descended from the heavens, bringing with them advanced knowledge, civilization, and perhaps a direct hand in the creation of humankind. The very term Anunnaki resonates with an almost alien quality derived from the Sumerian Anunnaki, often translated as those who from heaven to earth came. These aren't the gentle, benevolent figures of modern spiritualism, but complex entities with their own hierarchies, conflicts, and, crucially, a profound impact on the nascent human species. From their arrival, meticulously detailed in epics like the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis, to their alleged involvement in the construction of monumental structures and the imparting of sophisticated knowledge, the Anunnaki narrative paints a picture starkly different from the one taught in our schools. This alternative history, championed by researchers like Zecharia Sitchin, suggests that our past is far more intricate, far more alien than we dare to imagine. The controversy surrounding these interpretations is fierce, pitting mainstream academia, with its reliance on established archaeological and linguistic methodologies, against a growing chorus of independent scholars and curious minds who find compelling patterns in the ancient records. They argue that the sheer specificity and consistency of the Sumerian accounts, particularly when viewed through a lens unburdened by modern preconceptions, point towards a forgotten truth rather than imaginative fiction. The declassified evidence, a phrase that tantalizes and provokes, isn't a single smoking gun, but rather a constellation of converging data points that, for some, begin to illuminate the shadows of this ancient mystery. It comprises newly translated texts, re-examined archaeological findings, and even contemporary phenomena that seem to echo the descriptions from millennia ago. We are talking about a re-evaluation of what constitutes proof, moving beyond the purely empirical to consider the weight of narrative consistency across diverse ancient cultures. This journey into the heart of the Anunnaki debate is not just an academic exercise, it's an invitation to question our reality, to ponder the true extent of our heritage, and to wonder if the answers to our deepest questions about origin are not in the stars, but in the dusty archives of our own planet. The stakes are immense. If the Anunnaki narrative holds even a sliver of truth, it would fundamentally reshape our understanding of religion, science, and our place in the cosmos. It would force us to confront the possibility that humanity's story is not one of linear, self-driven evolution, but one intertwined with a powerful, technologically advanced, and enigmatic external influence. This profound journey begins here, but its scope is vast. What follows will dive deep into the ancient texts, scrutinize the archaeological record, and confront the unsettling implications of a world where gods walked among men. If this initial glimpse has sparked your curiosity, if you feel a stirring of something deep within that resonates with the possibility of a forgotten past, then we invite you to engage with this unfolding narrative. Leave a comment below with your initial thoughts on whether this sounds like a lost mythology or a forgotten truth. Your insights are invaluable as we collectively explore these profound questions, helping to ensure that vital discussions like this continue to be brought to light. And if this journey into the unknown truly captivates you, if you recognize that this channel delivers exactly the kind of groundbreaking content that challenges the status quo and expands your understanding, then take a moment to subscribe and activate that notification bell. Because what comes next is not just an unraveling of history, but a profound recontextualization of everything we thought we knew, promising an even deeper, more challenging, and ultimately more enlightening exploration. This introduction is just the prelude. The true revelations are yet to come, and they promise to shake the foundations of accepted belief. Our exploration truly begins in the fertile crescent of Mesopotamia, in the cradle of civilization itself, where the Sumerians inexplicably arose, gifting humanity with the wheel, irrigation, sophisticated legal codes, and most importantly for our current inquiry, the earliest known system of writing, cuneiform. Imagine a society that by all conventional archaeological measures should have been primitive, yet possessed an understanding of astronomy that rivaled and in some ways surpassed cultures thousands of years their junior. They mapped constellations, understood the precession of the equinoxes, and even identified planets in our solar system that remained undiscovered by Western science until centuries later. How did this sudden leap in knowledge occur? Mainstream academics attribute it to ingenious observation and intellectual brilliance, a remarkable, if unexplained, acceleration of human development. But for proponents of the Anunnaki theory, the explanation lies not in human genius alone, but in external tutelage. The Sumerians themselves claimed their knowledge was bestowed upon them by their gods, the Anunnaki. These gods, unlike the ethereal beings of later religions, were depicted with striking specificity in thousands of surviving clay tablets. They had names like Enlil, Enki, Ninhursag, and Marduk. They lived in specific places, often within cities built by or for them. They had complex social structures, engaged in power struggles, and even expressed emotions, such startlingly human emotions as anger, jealousy, and compassion. The Sumerian texts, notably the Atrahasis epic and the Enuma Elish, are not vague allegories. They are detailed chronicles, presenting a consistent narrative of these beings' arrival on Earth. They describe a time when the Anunnaki descended from the sky in celestial boats, establishing their first settlements in what is now Iraq. Their purpose, as translated by some scholars, was to mine Earth's gold, a precious metal allegedly vital for the survival of their own planet, Nibiru, which faced atmospheric degradation. This specific detail about gold has often been ridiculed by critics, yet it remains a central pillar of the alternative narrative. What if the stories we have so readily dismissed as mere mythology were in fact historical records, transcribed by an awe-struck people attempting to document the arrival of beings far beyond their comprehension? The narratives detail the struggles faced by the junior Anunnaki, the Igigi, who toiled in the mines, eventually rebelling against their arduous labor. It was in response to this crisis, according to the Sumerian texts, that a momentous decision was made by the Anunnaki Council to create a primitive worker, the Lulu Amelu, to take over the arduous task. This creation wasn't a divine act of pure magic, but a methodical process described as a blending of Anunnaki essence, their divine blood or genetic material, with that of an existing hominid species already present on Earth. The lead scientists in this audacious experiment were Enki, the brilliant scientist, and Ninhursag, the chief medical officer. They are depicted as meticulously working in a laboratory setting, creating successive prototypes until they achieved a viable human being capable of understanding commands and performing labor. This account directly challenges the Darwinian model of human evolution, suggesting an accelerated, engineered leap in our development. It proposes an external intervention that could potentially explain the sudden emergence of Homo sapiens with complex language, abstract thought, and advanced tool-making capabilities, seemingly without a clear evolutionary precursor that fully accounts for such rapid advancement. This concept of an engineered beginning for humanity is not unique to Sumeria. Echoes of similar narratives can be found in indigenous cultures across the globe, from the Dogon of Mali, with their star gods, the Nomos, to the ancient Egyptian accounts of the Neteru, beings who descended from the heavens. While these parallels are often attributed to convergent cultural development or universal human archetypes, proponents of the Anunnaki theory see them as evidence of a global truth, fragments of a shared ancient history that has been reinterpreted and diluted over millennia. The consistency in themes, sky beings, creation of humanity, advanced knowledge, across disparate cultures separated by vast oceans and time, raises intriguing questions. Could these be mere coincidences? Or do they point to a common source, a universal event that imprinted itself upon the collective consciousness of early humankind? Let us know in the comments if you've ever pondered this idea. If the possibility of our engineered origins has ever crossed your mind beyond the realm of science fiction. The implications are profound, shifting our understanding of purpose, identity, and humanity's unique place in the universe. This deep dive into the Sumerian cradle serves not to provide definitive answers, but to illuminate the stark divergence between accepted history and the narratives preserved by our earliest known civilization, setting the stage for the contentious figures who have dared to bridge this gap. It was into this complex tapestry of ancient texts and academic skepticism that Zecharia Sitchin stepped, a self-taught linguist and author whose controversial translations and interpretations of Sumerian cuneiform ignited the modern Anunnaki debate. Born in Azerbaijan and educated in Palestine and London, Sitchin's fascination with biblical archaeology led him to the original Hebrew texts, and then, crucially, to their Sumerian predecessors. Unlike mainstream Sumerologists who often treated the epic tales of gods and creation as allegorical myths, Sitchin approached them with a startlingly literal perspective. He proposed that the Sumerian accounts were not metaphors, but factual historical records detailing the arrival of extraterrestrial beings. His magnum opus, The 12th Planet, published in 1976, laid out his groundbreaking and deeply contentious theory, which quickly captivated millions and simultaneously drew the ire of virtually all established academics. Sitchin's core proposition revolved around the concept of Nibiru, a large planetary body he claimed was depicted by the Sumerians as an elongated orbit around our sun, passing through our solar system approximately every 3,600 years. According to his interpretation, it was from this planet X that the Anunnaki originated. They arrived on Earth, he argued, around 450,000 years ago, fleeing a crisis on Nibiru that necessitated large quantities of gold to repair their planet's deteriorating atmosphere. This specific detail, the gold mining motive, became a focal point of ridicule for Sitchin's critics. They questioned the scientific plausibility of a planet needing gold for atmospheric repair and the sheer logistics of an interstellar mining operation. Yet, Sitchin meticulously cited passages from Sumerian texts, claiming they explicitly described the Anunnaki's need for precious metals and their subsequent establishment of mining operations, primarily in southern Africa. His translations posited a direct link between the Anunnaki's presence and the vast gold deposits found in the region. The narrative continued with the Anunnaki, initially performing the arduous mining labor themselves, eventually growing weary. This led to the aforementioned genetic engineering project, where Enki and Ninhursag created Homo sapiens by splicing Anunnaki DNA with that of an indigenous hominid species, Homo erectus, already present on Earth. Sitchin argued that this act of genetic manipulation explained the sudden leap in human intelligence, language, and technological capability that mainstream archaeology struggles to fully account for within the standard evolutionary timeline. He contended that the Sumerian concept of divine blood mixed with earthly clay was a literal description of gene splicing rather than a spiritual metaphor. This primitive worker, created in the image of the Anunnaki, was initially designed for servitude, a workforce for the gods. However, Sitchin's literal interpretations faced overwhelming pushback from the academic community. Egyptologists, Assyriologists, and linguists largely dismissed his work as pseudo-scholarship, citing what they considered flawed translations, selective readings of texts, and a profound misunderstanding of ancient languages and cultural contexts. Critics argued that Sitchin often cherry-picked phrases, ignored grammatical nuances, and imposed modern scientific concepts onto ancient mythologies, twisting their original meanings to fit his predetermined narrative. For example, the concept of Nibiru itself is highly contested. While Sumerian astronomy did refer to a celestial body by this name, mainstream scholars interpret it as Jupiter or Mars, or simply a generic term for a crossing point, not a hidden 12th planet. The very idea of the Anunnaki being physical extraterrestrials rather than archetypal representations of natural forces or deified ancestors was seen as a radical departure from accepted archaeological and historical methodology. Despite the widespread academic condemnation, Sitchin's book sold millions globally, resonating deeply with individuals who felt mainstream explanations failed to fully address the mysteries of ancient history. For many, his work provided a coherent framework that connected disparate anomalies, megalithic structures of impossible precision, advanced ancient knowledge, and the global prevalence of sky god myths. Could a single individual's interpretation, however controversial, redefine our entire understanding of our past? The question persists. Was Sitchin a brilliant, if unorthodox, truth-seeker who correctly decoded ancient wisdom, or a talented storyteller who spun an elaborate fiction from misinterpretations? The debate rages on, fueled by those who feel established science is too rigid, too unwilling to entertain possibilities that challenge its foundational paradigms. Type "unbelievable" in the comments if this resonates with you, if the idea of a hidden truth buried in ancient texts feels like a possibility worth exploring. The controversy surrounding Sitchin's work perfectly encapsulates the tension between lost mythology and forgotten truth, a tension that finds unexpected echoes in very contemporary and increasingly declassified discussions. The phrase "declassified evidence" traditionally evokes images of top-secret government documents, once hidden from public view, now revealing startling truths. In the context of the Anunnaki debate, this concept takes on a dual meaning. On one hand, it refers to a re-examination and reinterpretation of ancient texts and archaeological findings, which, when viewed without conventional biases, begin to declassify the true intentions behind ancient narratives. On the other, and perhaps more tantalizingly, it points to a modern phenomenon: the slow, grudging acknowledgement by powerful institutions, particularly within the US government, of unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs. This confluence of ancient narratives and modern observations creates a powerful, albeit speculative, bridge between past and present, causing many to question if the sky gods of Sumeria were simply earlier iterations of what we now call UFOs. For decades, sightings of unidentified flying objects were relegated to the realm of conspiracy theories, ridiculed by the mainstream and dismissed as hoaxes, misidentifications, or psychological aberrations. However, the last few years have witnessed a seismic shift in this narrative. The revelations began subtly, with the New York Times expose in 2017 detailing the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, complete with stunning infrared videos of UAPs displaying capabilities far beyond any known human technology. These videos, showing objects moving at incredible speeds, making impossible maneuvers, and lacking visible means of propulsion, were not from grainy amateur footage, but from highly sophisticated military sensors. This was not anecdotal evidence. This was declassified, validated data from the heart of the national security apparatus. This trickle of information turned into a steady stream. In 2020, the Pentagon officially released the three infamous UAP videos, FLIR 1, Gimbal, and Go Fast, acknowledging them as legitimate unexplained phenomena. Then in 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a preliminary assessment on UAPs, stating that while they had no definitive explanation for the vast majority of sightings, they could not rule out advanced adversarial technology or, crucially, other explanations. This was followed by congressional hearings, the establishment of permanent UAP investigation offices within the Pentagon, and, perhaps most significantly, the testimony of highly credible individuals like David Grush. A former intelligence officer, Grush claimed under oath that the US government was in possession of non-human craft and biologics recovered from crash sites, and that information regarding these retrievals had been unlawfully withheld from Congress. How does this modern declassified evidence connect to the Anunnaki debate? For many, the parallels are striking and deeply provocative. Ancient Sumerian texts describe the Anunnaki arriving on Earth in celestial boats, flying machines, and skyships that could traverse vast distances. Depictions on cylinder seals show winged discs and figures seemingly operating complex aerial vehicles. If the Anunnaki were, as Sitchin proposed, extraterrestrial beings, then their mode of transport would undoubtedly align with what we now observe as UAPs, objects exhibiting advanced physics, seemingly defying gravity and known aerodynamic principles. The descriptions of Anunnaki technology, their ability to hover and move like fish in the water and birds in the sky, resonate eerily with contemporary UAP characteristics. Of course, skeptics are quick to point out that acknowledging the reality of UAPs does not automatically validate ancient astronaut theories. The fact that something is unidentified merely means we don't know what it is. It doesn't automatically mean it's an alien spaceship, let alone the return of the Anunnaki. However, for those who seek to bridge the gap between ancient mythology and modern reality, the recent disclosures have fundamentally shifted the conversation. It is no longer considered entirely outlandish to discuss the possibility of non-human intelligence interacting with our planet. The credibility of witnesses has moved from anonymous sea-level reports to decorated military pilots and intelligence officers. This institutional shift has opened a door that was long bolted shut, allowing for a more serious consideration of historical accounts that describe interactions with powerful beings from the sky. What are your thoughts on this connection? Share them below. Is it possible that what our ancestors witnessed and recorded as gods, we are now observing with advanced technology, gradually peeling back the layers of a forgotten truth? The implications, if true, extend far beyond just the existence of UAPs. They challenge the very narrative of human development and our place in the cosmic order, bringing us back to the most fundamental question of all: where did we truly come from? The most revolutionary and perhaps unsettling aspect of the Anunnaki narrative, particularly as interpreted by Zecharia Sitchin and his followers, revolves around the genesis of humanity itself. Conventional science posits a gradual process of evolution, stretching over millions of years, from common ancestors to modern Homo sapiens. The fossil record, though incomplete, traces a path of incremental changes, natural selection shaping our physiology and cognitive abilities. Yet a nagging question persists for some: the apparent acceleration of human evolution, particularly the sudden emergence of highly advanced cognitive functions, abstract thought, and complex language around 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. This period, often referred to as the cognitive revolution, seems, to some, to lack a fully satisfying, gradual explanation within the existing fossil evidence. This is precisely where the Anunnaki narrative inserts itself, offering a radical, if controversial, explanation for humanity's sudden arrival. According to the Sumerian texts, as interpreted through the lens of alternative history, humanity was not the product of slow, undirected evolution. Instead, we were engineered. The most detailed account of this creation comes from the Atrahasis epic, where the Anunnaki, weary of their labor in the gold mines, decide to create a primitive worker to relieve their burden. The scientist Enki and the chief medical officer Ninhursag, also known as Ninti, Lady of Life, undertake this audacious project. The texts describe a laboratory setting, a mixing of divine Anunnaki essence, often translated as blood or genetic material, with the clay or cellular material of a local hominid species. The goal was to create a being capable of understanding commands, performing complex tasks, and crucially, reproducing. The Sumerian tablets describe a process of trial and error, of early prototypes that were imperfect, until finally, a viable Lulu Amalu, primitive worker, was successfully created. This new being, endowed with a spark of Anunnaki intelligence, was then able to proliferate, forming the backbone of the workforce that served the gods. This narrative directly confronts the missing link problem in human evolution, proposing that the rapid cognitive leap was not a natural evolutionary event, but an artificial, engineered intervention. The idea that Anunnaki divine blood was incorporated into human DNA is a deeply provocative claim. In modern terms, this would be described as genetic engineering, a concept that stretches the imagination when applied to a civilization thousands of years ago, but one that aligns with current scientific capabilities. If the Anunnaki possessed advanced technology capable of interstellar travel and atmospheric remediation on their own planet, then genetic manipulation, though complex, would not be beyond their reach. The implications are staggering. If humanity was indeed created as a hybrid species, specifically designed for labor, what does that say about our inherent purpose? Does it challenge our understanding of free will or elevate our role as the offspring of cosmic visitors? For many, this narrative resonates more powerfully than traditional explanations because it addresses certain anomalies. It could explain why Homo sapiens, despite sharing significant genetic material with other primates, possesses a unique cognitive capacity that seems to set us apart. It could also account for the apparent missing genetic information, or the sudden appearance of certain traits that don't seem to have direct evolutionary precursors in the same way as other species. While mainstream geneticists vehemently disagree, citing the vast evidence for gradual evolution and the commonality of DNA across species, proponents of the Anunnaki theory argue that their model provides a more complete, albeit unconventional, explanation for humanity's rapid ascent. The concept of an engineered genesis also raises profound philosophical and existential questions. If an advanced species did intervene in our genetic past, what implications would that have for our understanding of identity and purpose? Would it diminish our sense of unique accomplishment, or would it inspire us to seek out our cosmic parents? It compels us to consider the ethical implications of such creation, echoing debates within contemporary bioethics. The Sumerian texts themselves hint at these complexities, depicting internal Anunnaki debates about the wisdom of creating humans, and later, about their continued existence. Many find this idea unsettling. The notion that we might be the product of an ancient genetic experiment can be disorienting. What's your take? Let us know in the comments below. Whether viewed as myth or potential truth, the Anunnaki narrative of genetic manipulation forces us to confront the deepest questions about who we are, where we come from, and whether our destiny is truly our own, or part of a grander design orchestrated by beings who arrived from heaven to earth. This profound creation story sets the stage for even greater Anunnaki influence, including a pivotal event that reshaped the world, the Great Deluge. The narrative of human creation by the Anunnaki, whether through divine fiat or genetic engineering, is intrinsically linked to another monumental event documented in Sumerian texts and echoed across nearly every ancient culture globally: the Great Deluge. This catastrophic flood, often dismissed as a universal archetype or a localized natural disaster magnified into myth, takes on a chillingly deliberate character within the Anunnaki framework. Far from being a random act of nature, the Sumerian flood story, prominently featured in the Atrahasis epic and later adapted into the Epic of Gilgamesh, portrays the deluge as a premeditated decision by the Anunnaki Council, a drastic measure intended to rectify a problem of their own making, humanity itself. According to these ancient tablets, as humanity multiplied, the Anunnaki found their creations to be increasingly disruptive. The primary complaint, articulated by the supreme leader Enlil, was the incessant noise of humankind. This wasn't merely a nuisance, it was a profound disturbance to the Anunnaki's peace and sleep, preventing them from resting. This seemingly petty reason for such a drastic measure, the annihilation of an entire species, highlights the often complex and seemingly arbitrary morality of these gods. Zai, it suggests a creator with less than absolute benevolence, one capable of both creation and ruthless destruction based on their own perceived comfort or convenience. For those who interpret the Anunnaki literally, this portrays not an omniscient, all-loving deity, but a powerful yet flawed and distinctly anthropomorphic race of beings. The decision to unleash the flood was not unanimous. The texts describe intense debates among the Anunnaki Council. Enlil, weary of humanity's ceaseless clamor and perhaps regretting their creation, argued vehemently for their extinction. However, Enki, the very Anunnaki who had played a crucial role in humanity's creation, harbored a deep affection for his creation. Defying the council's decree and Enlil's wrath, Enki found a way to circumvent the genocidal plan. He secretly warned Atrahasis, or Utnapishtim, in the Gilgamesh epic, a righteous human, of the impending catastrophe, providing him with detailed instructions to build an ark. This vessel was to save himself, his family, and a selection of animals and seeds, ensuring the continuation of life after the deluge. The story unfolds with terrifying speed, the heavens opening, the earth convulsing, and a monumental flood engulfing the world, wiping out all of humanity save for those aboard Enki's ark. The parallels between the Sumerian flood narrative and later biblical accounts, particularly Noah's Ark, are undeniable and profound. The specific details, from the warning to a chosen individual, the construction of a large vessel, the saving of animals, and the eventual landing on a mountain, are strikingly similar. This has led many scholars to suggest that the biblical flood story, rather than being an original divine revelation, is a direct adaptation of much older Mesopotamian myths. Within the Anunnaki framework, this reinforces the idea that these ancient stories are not isolated myths, but fragments of a shared historical memory, albeit reinterpreted through different cultural and religious lenses over time. The morality of the Anunnaki in this event is a crucial point of reflection. Who were these gods who held such power over life and death, and what ethical framework governed their decisions? Their actions often appear capricious, driven by desires and conflicts that feel strikingly human. This contrasts sharply with the concept of an all-perfect, immutable divine being. Instead, the Anunnaki emerge as powerful, technologically advanced, yet morally complex and sometimes contradictory entities. This perspective demystifies them, making them less godlike in the traditional sense and more akin to extremely powerful, advanced, and sometimes ruthless extraterrestrial overlords. Reflecting on this narrative, one might ask, what would it mean if the countless flood myths found across the globe, from indigenous North American tales to Hindu Puranas, were all echoes of a single, orchestrated event, rather than purely local phenomena or universal subconscious archetypes? Does this sound like a familiar story to you? Drop your thoughts below in the comments. The Great Deluge within the Anunnaki context is not merely a story of ancient survival. It is a profound testament to the power these beings wielded over early humanity, and a stark reminder that even our very existence was at one point contingent upon their internal squabbles and the compassion of one dissenting god. This dramatic intervention further solidifies the Anunnaki's role not just as creators, but as active managers and arbiters of human destiny, a presence whose influence extends far beyond mere genetic origins, manifesting in the very structures and artifacts that dot our ancient landscapes. Beyond the perplexing narratives of creation and catastrophic floods, the Anunnaki debate finds a tangible anchor in the physical world through a myriad of structures and artifacts that defy conventional explanation. These unexplained anomalies serve as silent witnesses, challenging our understanding of ancient technologies and raising the provocative question, could the precision and scale of these ancient engineering marvels be attributed to beings possessing knowledge and tools far beyond what primitive humans were thought capable of? The sheer audacity of certain megalithic constructions scattered across the globe forms a compelling argument for those who postulate an external, advanced influence. Consider sites like Baalbek in Lebanon, where massive stone blocks, some weighing over 1,000 tons, the Hajar al-Hibla, or Stone of the South, lie perfectly cut and positioned in a temple foundation. Conventional methods of the Roman era, which later built upon these foundations, offer no plausible explanation for how such colossal stones could have been quarried, transported, and precisely placed without modern machinery. Similar questions arise at Pumapunku in Bolivia, an ancient ruin characterized by incredibly intricate stonework. Its interlocking H-blocks, carved with laser-like precision and fitted together like a sophisticated puzzle, utilize angles and cuts that seem to defy simple hand tools. The stone itself, a hard volcanic rock, would be incredibly difficult to work with even today. The mainstream archaeological explanation often involves lost techniques and thousands of laborers, yet the sheer perfection and repetitive nature of the cuts suggests something more akin to advanced machining than manual labor. The Egyptian pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramid of Giza, remain a perennial source of debate. While mainstream Egyptology attributes their construction to immense manpower ramps and clever logistics, the precision of the stone cutting, the alignment to true north, and the inclusion of seemingly impossible features like the King's Chamber's granite sarcophagus made of Aswan granite, a notoriously hard stone cut to within microns of accuracy, continue to puzzle engineers and architects. How were millions of precisely cut blocks, many weighing dozens of tons, lifted hundreds of feet and fitted with such minuscule gaps? For proponents of the Anunnaki theory, these structures are not just monuments. They are physical evidence of advanced technology, possibly provided or directly implemented by the Anunnaki. They argue that only beings capable of interstellar travel would possess the energy sources and tools necessary for such feats of engineering. Beyond megalithic structures, out-of-place artifacts, UPART, further fuel the fires of speculation. The Baghdad Battery, discovered in Iraq in 1938 and dating back 2,000 years, appears to be an ancient electrical battery, complete with a copper cylinder, iron rod, and traces of an acidic agent. While its exact purpose is debated, some suggest electroplating, others simply storage, its existence pushes the boundaries of known ancient technology. The Antikythera mechanism, a complex Hellenistic-era, c. 1st century BCE, analog computer recovered from a shipwreck, could predict astronomical positions and eclipses decades in advance. Its intricate gearing and sophisticated design were unparalleled for over a millennium. How did ancient civilizations achieve such technological prowess, seemingly without a continuous development path? The Anunnaki theory posits that such knowledge was either directly imparted or facilitated by these gods. These anomalies, when viewed in isolation, can often be explained away by ingenious human methods lost to time, or simply as unsolved mysteries. However, when considered collectively, and within the context of the Sumerian narratives that speak of advanced beings providing knowledge and even building cities, a different picture begins to emerge. The Anunnaki, with their alleged mastery of science and engineering, could have possessed the means to cut, lift, and transport these colossal stones, perhaps using anti-gravity technology or sonic tools that we are only beginning to conceptualize today. When faced with engineering feats that defy our understanding of ancient capabilities, should we question our assumptions, or are we simply missing pieces of the puzzle? What have you seen that made you question history? Tell us what it was in the comments. The very existence of these structures challenges the linear progression of human technological development, suggesting a more complex, perhaps interrupted or externally influenced, past. They stand as enduring testaments to an extraordinary ancient world, whispering of possibilities far grander than mere human ingenuity. The Anunnaki debate, with its radical claims about extraterrestrial intervention and genetic engineering, is more than just a historical or archaeological controversy. It's a profound challenge to the very power of narrative itself, and by extension, to the structures of societal control that rely on established versions of history and belief. If the official story of human origins and ancient civilizations were to be fundamentally overturned by the Anunnaki narrative, the implications would ripple through every facet of human experience, from religious dogma to scientific consensus, potentially destabilizing the bedrock of our collective understanding. This potential paradigm shift is why the debate often evokes such fervent defense from mainstream institutions, and why, for some, the concept of a suppressed history resonates so deeply. Consider the religious parallels inherent in the Anunnaki story. The creation of humanity in the image of the gods, the great flood, the giving of laws, the divine interventions. These themes are foundational to many of the world's major religions, particularly the Abrahamic faiths. If these narratives are indeed derived from older Sumerian accounts, and if those Sumerian accounts describe physical, albeit advanced, extraterrestrial beings rather than spiritual deities, then the very genesis of religious belief would be recontextualized. The gods of ancient texts would transform from omnipotent spiritual entities into powerful, yet physically present beings who simply possess technology and knowledge far beyond human comprehension. This would not necessarily invalidate spiritual faith, but it would certainly reshape its historical and empirical foundations, challenging centuries of theological interpretation. Such a reframing could have monumental societal and psychological impacts. Furthermore, the Anunnaki narrative portrays these beings not just as creators, but as direct rulers and influencers of early human civilization. They are depicted as establishing cities, instituting legal codes, teaching agriculture, and even appointing human kings. This suggests a hierarchical structure where humanity was initially managed, perhaps even controlled, by these gods. If this were true, it would imply that the very foundations of human governance and social order were not organically developed by humans alone, but were, at least in part, dictated or influenced by an external, superior intelligence. This raises uncomfortable questions about our autonomy and the true nature of historical power structures. Was humanity ever truly independent, or have we always been, in some sense, under a form of cosmic oversight? The idea of suppression of knowledge also plays a significant role in this discourse. Proponents of the Anunnaki theory often argue that mainstream academia, religious institutions, and even governments have a vested interest in maintaining the conventional historical narrative. Any evidence or interpretation that deviates too radically from the accepted timeline, particularly concerning human origins or extraterrestrial contact, is often marginalized, ridiculed, or actively suppressed. This is not necessarily a malicious conspiracy, but rather a systemic resistance to paradigm shifts that could unravel existing power structures, belief systems, and scientific orthodoxies. Challenging foundational truths can be unsettling and disruptive, and institutions, by their nature, tend to resist such instability. This perspective suggests that the declassified evidence isn't just about government documents, but about the slow, painful process of humanity, declassifying its own historical biases and preconceived notions. The psychological impact of such a revelation cannot be overstated. If we were to definitively discover that humanity was engineered by an extraterrestrial race, it would force a profound re-evaluation of our identity, our purpose, and our place in the universe. It would shake the very core of our self-perception. Would we feel less significant or more? Would it lead to a crisis of meaning or a profound sense of cosmic connection? This can be a tough pill to swallow. How does it make you feel? Share your honest reaction in the comments. The power of narrative is immense. It shapes our understanding of the past, informs our present, and guides our future. The Anunnaki debate is ultimately a struggle over this narrative, a contest between a comfortable, familiar history and a challenging alien truth. It reminds us that what we believe about our origins profoundly influences who we are and what we aspire to become, making the pursuit of this forgotten truth not just an academic endeavor, but a deeply personal one for humanity as a whole. As we navigate the increasingly blurred lines between ancient narratives and modern revelations, the Anunnaki debate is experiencing a resurgence of interest, propelled by a confluence of factors that are reshaping our understanding of humanity's past and potential future. This isn't just about dusty texts anymore. It's about the implications of these ancient stories in an age of unprecedented scientific discovery, space exploration, and, crucially, official acknowledgement of phenomena that challenge our perceived reality. The conversation is shifting from speculative fringe theories to a more serious, if still cautious, consideration within broader public discourse. One of the primary drivers of this renewed interest is the aforementioned phenomenon of UAP disclosures, with military pilots and intelligence officials testifying to unexplained aerial phenomena, and the Pentagon acknowledging the existence of objects exhibiting capabilities far beyond human technology. The concept of advanced non-human intelligence interacting with our planet has gained unprecedented mainstream legitimacy. This new openness provides a modern context through which to re-examine ancient accounts of sky gods and flying chariots. If UAPs are real and represent advanced, perhaps extraterrestrial technology, then the ancient Sumerian descriptions of Anunnaki arriving in celestial boats suddenly appear less like mythical allegory and more like historical observation. The psychological barrier to accepting the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors has been significantly lowered, allowing for a more uninhibited exploration of ancient astronaut theories. Moreover, advancements in scientific fields are continuously pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. Genomic sequencing and genetic engineering capabilities are becoming ever more sophisticated, allowing us to understand the complexities of DNA at an unprecedented level. This progress, ironically, makes the Anunnaki narrative of humanity's genetic engineering seem less like pure fantasy and more like a hypothetical, albeit advanced, scientific endeavor. If we, as a species, are rapidly approaching the capability to manipulate our own genome or even create new life forms, then the idea of an ancient, more advanced civilization having done so long ago becomes, for some, increasingly plausible. New archaeological techniques, utilizing remote sensing and ground-penetrating radar, are also revealing previously hidden structures and anomalies beneath the Earth, potentially offering new, declassified evidence to sift through. The implications for our future, particularly in the realm of space exploration and the search for extraterrestrial life, are profound. If the Anunnaki narrative holds any truth, it suggests that humanity's first contact with intelligent extraterrestrial life already occurred hundreds of thousands of years ago, shaping our very genesis. This would fundamentally alter our approach to the search for life beyond Earth. Instead of merely looking for faint signals in distant stars, we might also need to look inward, examining our own history, our own DNA, and the archaeological record for evidence of this past interaction. It could mean that we are not alone, and never have been, and that our cosmic neighbors have played a direct foundational role in our existence. Beyond the scientific and exploratory implications, there are profound ethical considerations. If humanity was indeed genetically engineered by an advanced species, what are our rights and responsibilities to them or to ourselves? Does this place us in a position of perpetual servitude, or does it imbue us with a unique cosmic heritage? These are not easy questions, and they challenge the very notion of human autonomy and self-determination. They force us to contemplate our place in a potentially vast cosmic hierarchy. Are we, as a species, ready for the answers that may lie buried beneath centuries of sand and dogma? The implications are staggering. What do you think the future holds for this debate? Share your predictions and hopes in the comments. As we stand on the precipice of understanding, a new document emerges, not from ancient archives, but from a recently declassified government report, hinting at a connection far more direct than previously imagined. It speaks not of ancient myths, but of ongoing observations, of a persistent presence that has been meticulously recorded, analyzed, and until now, meticulously guarded. This contemporary revelation, seen through the lens of the Anunnaki narrative, doesn't just reframe our past. It fundamentally alters our perception of our present, preparing the way for a profound re-evaluation of reality itself. The next turn in this narrative promises to intertwine the ancient and the modern in ways that will challenge every preconception you hold, pushing the boundaries of what you believe to be possible and inviting you to consider a truth that has merely been forgotten, awaiting our collective rediscovery. The very fabric of our historical understanding, once rigid and seemingly unyielding, now reveals threads interwoven with possibilities previously dismissed as fantasy. The declassified evidence, as we've explored, isn't confined to dusty government files from the last century. It encompasses the Sumerian clay tablets themselves, now being re-examined with fresh eyes, and the recent undeniable acknowledgement of UAPs by official sources. This convergence creates a compelling, albeit still controversial argument, that the Anunnaki narrative is not a lost mythology, but a forgotten truth that has patiently awaited our collective rediscovery. The revelation, then, is not a single grand announcement, but a slow, dawning realization that the ancient and the modern are speaking the same language, albeit across vast gulfs of time. Imagine for a moment the implications of this convergence. The Sumerian texts detail beings capable of interstellar travel, genetic manipulation, and possessing advanced knowledge of astronomy and engineering. Parallel to this, we now have authenticated military footage of UAPs demonstrating flight capabilities that defy our current understanding of physics. We have intelligence officers, under oath, speaking of retrieving non-human craft and biologics. If we allow these two streams of information to flow together, they suggest a continuous presence, an ongoing interaction between humanity and an advanced, non-human intelligence. The gods who descended from the heavens to mine gold, create humans, and dictate early civilization, could very well be the predecessors or even the same entities responsible for the UAPs observed today. This isn't about proving a definitive historical fact. It's about presenting a coherent, if paradigm-shattering alternative explanation that addresses many of the anomalies conventional history struggles to reconcile. This perspective radically shifts our understanding of human history. Our evolution might not have been a purely natural, undirected process, but one guided or even initiated by an external intelligence. Our earliest civilizations might not have spontaneously generated advanced knowledge, but received it from teachers far more sophisticated than themselves. The declassified revelations suggest that what we call gods were, in essence, highly advanced beings with technology so far beyond our own that they appeared divine. Their powers were not supernatural, but super-scientific. Their heavenly abodes were spacecraft, and their divine interventions were technological applications. This is the profound shift in perspective that the Anunnaki debate, fueled by both ancient and modern evidence, compels us to consider. This unveiled truth, however, raises more questions than it answers. If the Anunnaki were indeed our creators or early mentors, where are they now? Are they still observing us? Do they have a continuing influence on human affairs, perhaps through clandestine means, or through the very structures of society they helped establish? What is their ultimate purpose, and what does our existence mean to them? These questions are immense, stretching the boundaries of our current understanding of anthropology, theology, and exobiology. They force us to confront the possibility that humanity is not an isolated experiment, but part of a larger, cosmic tapestry woven by intelligences beyond our current comprehension. The scientific community, with its emphasis on empirical, repeatable data, remains largely resistant to these conclusions, demanding more tangible proof of alien intervention. Yet for a growing segment of the population, the sheer weight of circumstantial evidence, the consistency of ancient narratives, the unexplained archaeological anomalies, and now the official acknowledgement of UAPs creates a compelling, if not definitive, picture. This picture suggests that the lost mythology of the Anunnaki is not merely a collection of imaginative tales, but a distorted, fragmented memory of actual historical events. These are not just theories. They are the emergent understanding of a world where our origins are far more complex and our future potentially intertwined with a cosmic past. This revelation, therefore, is not an ending, but a new beginning, an invitation to embark on a journey of rediscovery, where every ancient text, every unexplained artifact, and every UAP sighting becomes a piece of a puzzle that promises to unlock the greatest secret of all, the true story of humanity. This profound recontextualization sets the stage for a personal journey of inquiry, challenging each of us to decide where we stand on the precipice of this unfolding cosmic truth. The journey through the Anunnaki debate, from the ancient clay tablets of Sumeria to the contemporary disclosures of unidentified aerial phenomena, leaves us not with definitive answers, but with a lingering sense of wonder and a multitude of unanswered questions. This is the essence of true inquiry. The more we discover, the more we realize the vastness of what we still don't know. The story of the Anunnaki, whether understood as a profound mythology or a forgotten truth, compels us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about our origins, our history, and our place in the cosmos. It challenges the very foundations of accepted knowledge, urging us to embrace critical thinking and to question established narratives, no matter how comforting they may be. The debate is far from over. Mainstream academia continues to view these interpretations with deep skepticism, advocating for conventional explanations rooted in known human history and cultural development. Yet the persistent anomalies, the impossible structures, the advanced ancient knowledge, the global flood myths, and now the undeniable reality of UAPs continue to fuel the fires of speculation and exploration. This tension between established paradigms and provocative alternatives is where the most profound discoveries are often made. It reminds us that truth is not a static concept, but an evolving understanding shaped by new evidence and shifting perspectives. The Anunnaki narrative, therefore, stands as a powerful testament to the enduring human quest for self-knowledge, a cosmic mirror reflecting our deepest questions about where we came from and where we are going. This pursuit of forgotten truths is not merely an academic exercise, it's a personal journey for each of us. It requires an open mind, a willingness to consider possibilities that may initially seem outlandish, and the courage to challenge our own preconceived notions. If the Anunnaki were indeed real, if they did play a role in our creation and early development, then our future as a species takes on an entirely new dimension. It suggests that humanity is part of a larger, grander cosmic story, one filled with interactions, interventions, and perhaps a destiny far more extraordinary than we could have ever imagined. The power of questioning, of daring to look beyond the accepted, is the most crucial tool we possess in this ongoing quest for understanding. If you've journeyed with us through these revelations, if your mind has been open to possibilities once considered impossible, then type "Journey completed" in the comments below. Your engagement fuels these profound discussions and helps us gauge the impact of these challenging ideas. This exploration of ancient mysteries and modern enigmas is only possible with your support. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to ensure you don't miss our next deep dive into the hidden chapters of history and the unexplained phenomena of our world. Give this video a thumbs up if you believe in the power of questioning and the pursuit of forgotten truths, helping us bring more stories like this to light and reach a wider audience of truth seekers. And for those who seek to unravel more threads of this grand tapestry, for those whose curiosity has been ignited beyond measure, click on the video appearing on your screen now. It delves even further into the secrets that shape our reality, offering even more insight into the profound questions we've begun to explore today. The story of humanity, it seems, is far from fully told, and the most astonishing chapters may still lie ahead, waiting for us to uncover them, one declassified revelation at a time.